On January 13, 2019, Gillette posted a video asking, "Is this the best a man can get?" The ad showed men bullying each other, harassing women, and talking over female colleagues, then suggested their customers were part of the problem. Within 48 hours, the ad had racked up 400,000 dislikes, making it one of the most disliked advertisements in YouTube history. Customers started posting videos of themselves throwing Gillette razors in the trash. The hashtag Boycott Gillette trended worldwide. 6 months later, Procter Gamble announced an $8 billion write-down on the Gillette brand. The division CEO's response when asked about the backlash? A price worth paying. This is the story of how Gillette, a company that had dominated men's grooming for 118 years, decided to challenge its own customers on masculinity itself, and how that decision became one of the most expensive marketing lessons in modern business history. To understand the collapse, you need to understand the empire. In 1901, King Kemp Gillette invented the safety razor. Before that, men used straight razors that needed constant sharpening. Gillette's idea was revolutionary: cheap handles, expensive disposable blades. It was the razor and blades business model before anyone called it that. By World War I, the US military gave every soldier a Gillette razor. When they came home, they brought the habit with them. For the next century, Gillette didn't just dominate shaving, it defined masculinity in advertising. Their ads featured athletes, celebrities, and aspirational imagery. In 1989, they launched the tagline, "The best a man can get," and men bought into it. By the early 2000s, Gillette controlled 70% of the global razor market. With that kind of dominance, they could price their cartridges 35% higher than the competition, and nobody blinked. Such power attracted attention. Procter Gamble bought the company in 2005 for $57 billion, the largest acquisition in their history. For over 100 years, Gillette had been untouchable. By 2018, Gillette faced a problem advertising couldn't solve. Market share had dropped from 70% to 54%. Revenue in the grooming division had fallen 26% over 3 years. The brand that had dominated for over a century was hemorrhaging customers. Part of this was cultural. Beards became fashionable. Men's average shaving frequency dropped from 3.7 to 3.2 times per week over the decade. Younger men grew facial hair, watched YouTube tutorials on beard grooming, bought oils and balms instead of razors. The US shaving market itself experienced contraction during this period. Manual razor sales fell 5.1% year over year from 2017 to 2018. But the bigger threat came from a different direction entirely. In 2011, two guys launched Dollar Shave Club. The following year, they made a YouTube video where the founder said directly to camera,
"Our blades are f***ing great."
It went viral. Within 48 hours, they had 12,000 orders that crashed their website. The pitch was simple. Why pay $25 for cartridges when $3 blades work fine? Subscribe and they'll ship them to your door. No drugstore trips, no unlocking them from behind plastic cases. In 2013, another startup called Harry's launched with the same approach. Lower prices, better design, direct to consumer. Gillette tried fighting back with discounts. Blade prices dropped 12% in 2017. It didn't matter. Sales kept falling. All they accomplished was making less money on products fewer people wanted. The subscription companies had something Gillette didn't. They felt like brands built for a new generation, not their fathers. Gillette's leadership understood the problem. Gary Coombe, who ran P&G's grooming division, acknowledged the challenge. The company was losing share, awareness, and penetration with younger consumers. The solution they chose would test whether a 118-year-old razor company could rebuild relevance by challenging masculinity itself. In 2018, taking a stand had become a marketing strategy. The examples were everywhere. Nike made Colin Kaepernick, who knelt during the national anthem, the face of their Dream Crazy campaign. After the Parkland shooting, Dick's Sporting Goods dropped assault rifles entirely. Patagonia went even further, suing the Trump administration over public lands. These weren't fringe campaigns. They were coming from global brands with billions in revenue. Nielsen research showed 66% of consumers would pay more for products from socially responsible companies. Marketing agencies were delivering the same message to their clients. Brands needed to stand for something beyond products. The timing seemed perfect for Gillette to do exactly that. The Me Too movement had sparked global conversations about male behavior and masculinity. As a men's brand that had spent decades defining what masculinity looked like in advertising, Gillette was uniquely positioned to weigh in. Leadership saw an opportunity to connect with younger consumers who cared about these issues. So they decided to address toxic masculinity. Grey New York, Gillette's agency, developed a campaign that would flip the brand's 30-year tagline. Instead of "the best a man can get," the message became "the best men can be." To direct it, they hired Kim Gehrig, the Australian filmmaker behind Sport England's This Girl Can, a campaign aimed at empowering women. Gillette was now asking a director known for speaking to women to deliver a message about masculinity to men. This wasn't just going to be an advertisement, it was a complete repositioning of what the brand represented. Gillette committed $3 million to nonprofits focused on supporting boys and men, partnering with organizations like the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. The logic seemed sound: align with progressive values, attract younger and more diverse customers who weren't buying razors like their fathers did, and build loyalty that went beyond price points and features. The plan was set. In January 2019, they were ready to make history. They just didn't expect it to be this kind of history. On January 13, 2019, Gillette uploaded the film to YouTube. The ad opened with men staring into mirrors as audio of news reports played, references to bullying, the hashtag #MeToo movement, and toxic masculinity. Then it showed a series of scenes. Boys fighting while fathers muttered, "Boys will be boys," men catcalling women on the street, male executives talking over female colleagues in meetings. Then actor Terry Crews appeared in footage from his congressional testimony.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
The ad shifted to positive examples: a father stopping his son from bullying, a man intervening in street harassment, young boys learning respect. The film ran 1 minute and 48 seconds, and not a single razor appeared. The YouTube comments section exploded immediately. Users complained about being called rapists and bullies. Others declared they were done with the brand after decades. The problem wasn't the message itself, it was who was delivering it and how. The ad spent most of its runtime showing men behaving badly, bullying, catcalling, dismissing women. Positive examples came only at the end. For many male viewers, the message felt less like inspiration and more like accusation. You are the problem. And it was coming from a razor company, a brand that had spent decades profiting from aggressive masculine imagery, sponsoring boxing, football, celebrating competition. Now that same brand wanted to lecture its customers about toxic masculinity. To critics, it wasn't social responsibility, it was hypocrisy. British journalist Piers Morgan, who had over 6 million Twitter followers at the time, posted, "I've used Gillette razors my entire adult life, but this absurd virtue signaling may drive me away to a company less eager to fuel the current pathetic global assault on masculinity." His response became a rallying cry. Conservative commentators amplified it, and YouTube channels made response videos that garnered millions of views. Hashtag boycott Gillette trended globally. Customers filmed themselves throwing razors in the trash, some videos receiving hundreds of thousands of views. The ad accumulated 400,000 dislikes against 200,000 likes. It became one of the most disliked ads in YouTube history. Not everyone reacted negatively. Bernice King, Martin Luther King Jr.'s daughter, called it pro-humanity. Marketing experts praised Gillette for taking a stand. But the loudest voices, the ones driving the conversation, were angry, and those voices belonged to people who'd been buying Gillette products for decades. The backlash was so severe that Gillette eventually disabled YouTube comments entirely, and later quietly removed the video from their channel. The question everyone was asking, would the outrage actually hurt sales, or was this just internet noise? Over the next 6 months, the answer became clear. P&G's earnings reports revealed the damage. Grooming segment net sales fell from $6.5 billion in fiscal 2018 to $6.2 billion in fiscal 2019, a decline of $352 million in a single year. And the market share numbers backed it up. According to P&G's own annual reports, Gillette's global blades and razors share dropped from nearly 65% to just over 60%, continuing a troubling pattern of decline. Where did those customers go? The competitors who'd been chipping away at Gillette's dominance suddenly found themselves with an influx of new customers. Dollar Shave Club and Harry's gained market share. Even Schick, a traditional rival that had struggled for years, saw customers switching. 6 months after the ad launched, P&G held its quarterly earnings call. CFO John Moeller announced an $8 billion write-down on the Gillette brand. The charge created a net loss of over $5 billion for the quarter. Mueller attributed the write-down to currency fluctuations and structural changes. Fewer men shaving, increased competition, changing consumer habits. The ad wasn't mentioned in the official statement, but the timing was impossible to ignore. 6 months after the most controversial campaign in company history, Gillette had just lost $8 billion in brand value. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. Would leadership admit the campaign was a mistake, or would they defend it? August 2019, Marketing Week published an interview with Gary Coombe. The interviewer asked directly about the backlash and the $8 billion write-down. Coombe didn't retreat. He called the losses a price worth paying. His reasoning: for the majority of people to fall more deeply in love with today's brands, you have to risk upsetting a small minority, and that's what we've done. The strategy was deliberate. Gillette was willing to alienate older customers who were leaving anyway. The goal was winning younger, more progressive consumers who represented future growth, trading short-term losses for long-term brand positioning. And there was evidence the strategy generated significant engagement. Website traffic spiked to the highest levels in 5 years. The brand garnered over 1.5 million mentions across digital platforms within 24 hours. On paper, it looked like a win, but the research missed something critical. Awareness didn't convert to purchases. A Toluna survey revealed the gap. 77% of viewers felt hopeful after watching the ad, but only 34% said it made them want to purchase Gillette products. The campaign had also targeted audiences that were 51% female, people who might applaud the message but weren't in the market for men's razors. A Glocalities study of over 4,500 male Gillette consumers revealed another problem. Most Gillette buyers were traditional men who valued family and national pride. Gender equality wasn't their priority. With its campaign, Gillette had taken a progressive stance, but positioned itself on the opposite side of its own customers. Susan Cantor, CEO of a branding consultancy, told NPR that the ad's positive message got lost in the negativity, leaving some men feeling lectured rather than inspired. The message from the market was clear. By August 2019, Gillette quietly shifted direction. The company announced it was shifting the spotlight from social issues to local heroes, like firefighters and personal trainers. The experiment was over. So that is the story of Gillette, a company that spent 118 years telling men they deserved the best a man can get, then spent 2 minutes telling them they needed to be better men. The backlash cost them $8 billion in 2019. 4 years later, in December 2023, P&G announced another $1.3 billion write-down. The damage didn't end, it compounded. What exactly went wrong? It came down to 3 mistakes. First, Gillette targeted the wrong audience. The campaign reached people who would praise it, not people who would purchase. Second, they confused product relevance with cultural relevance. Nike succeeded with Kaepernick because sneakers are public, visible, worn as statements. Razors are private, utilitarian, used in bathrooms where no one's watching. Some products carry cultural meaning, others just solve problems. Third, they told existing customers they were the problem. The ad spent most of its runtime showing men behaving badly, then asked those same men to buy razors. Gary Coombe called the backlash a price worth paying. 6 years and $9.3 billion later, Gillette is still paying it. Maybe that's the real lesson. You can lecture your customers. You can take a stand. You can generate millions of views and worldwide conversation. But at the end of the day, someone still has to buy the razor.